So there's a couple things I want to say about Spider-Man. Obviously, Spider-Man is out there right now filming over in Glasgow, filming this huge action set piece. And we've been following along with a lot of the rumors and a lot of things that were going on. Well, I wanted to bring something to your attention here, guys. So yesterday, when we were talking about the film, there's a lot of discussion of Mr. Negative, okay? And I think this had to do with, well, it had to do with a couple things. There were some rumors kind of making it seem like Mr. Negative would be involved, okay? But on top of that, it really started to look like Mr. Negative was the way to get Hulk to flip, okay? So a lot of you thought that was the way they were going to do it. I was like, I don't know. The video game element seemed kind of interesting because, of course, video games are huge these days. We saw on the tank that the Punisher has a symbol, an insignia, a little demon-looking thing, and it seemed to correspond to Mr. Negative, and it seemed to correspond to the demons, the inner demons, okay? Well, according to Alex Perez, and we sort of touched on this yesterday, because I said yesterday, guys, there was a lot of stuff making me think Mr. Negative is not in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Alex says here, Mr. Negative and the Inner Demons are not in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, this is pretty crazy for a couple of different reasons, but one thing I want to tell you right away is the James Mackweld guy said that Mr. Negative is the main villain of the film. So I know there's, like, we're in this weird time period where, like, is this James Mackweld guy, legit or not? Apparently the other day, this guy was like, why did Josh from Den of Nerds block me? I blocked you because you're full of shit, brother. You're stealing people's leaks. You're making shit up. You're probably in a plant, a Marvel Studios plant. This guy does not know what he's talking about. So we have to disregard. We have to disregard James Mackwell, okay? Now, as somebody brings up in chat, Alex does not have a perfect track record, okay? And that's true. But one of the things that, like, and I understand that you guys are not, like, as in it as I am, but I will often see you guys either debating in chat or debating in Discord over, like, who's right about this, that, second, and the third. And so, like, something came out the other day about Daniel, and he's talking about Spider-Man. And a lot of you guys are like, but Daniel's been getting stuff wrong. Can we even trust Daniel or whatever? And it's like, there's a lack of context here. Like, there are clearly certain things that Daniel has scooped that are very accurate, okay? And you have to think about the timing. Is this movie, like, in pre-production or production right now? It's in production, obviously. Here's what I'm trying to say. More people than ever know shit about Spider-Man right now. Right now. Like, it's a small group when they're developing the idea, when Parliament has it, when the director has the pitch, etc., etc. Then, as you get closer to production, more and more people get their hands on the information, concept art, early scripts, casting grids, all this data comes out. When you're actually filming the thing, more people than ever have access to that information. So, if anybody has any bit of an accurate track record, you have to be able to recognize the timing and understand what are the chances that this is accurate information. It's not as simple as, oh, Daniel's been getting some stuff wrong over the past. Well, what's he been getting wrong? Scoops about the show, the fucking Champion show shit that it's like 2 years, keeps going in and out. He keeps talking about Nova going in and out of production. Yeah, some of that might be bullshit. And there's nothing to suggest that there's any actual movement from Marvel, so he might just be regurgitating old scoops, right? But think about the timing. Spider-Man is literally filming right now. Do you really mean to tell me? And I'm not trying to be mad, but I just want you guys to, like, just think about this, right? Are you really trying to tell me that some of the people with the best track records ever, at a time when there's more information about the film than ever out there, you're trying to tell me you don't believe them? Like, that doesn't make any sense. These are the only people you should believe. Yeah, I know, Carl. I know, Carl. But so just wanted to put that out there because, again, it's a part of this game. You're trying to understand, I think you want to distill the best information. You want to try to figure out what's right, what's not right. Explain the F4 leaks. I mean, I could totally do this, Carl, but I think you're smart enough to realize what it is. dialogue, and when you go into film something in dialogue, right? Especially for a big old CGI character that's on a soundstage or whatever, you can alter the dialogue, you can change it. It is likely the case that there was a version of Fantastic Four that had Galactus more explicitly speaking about multiverses, more explicitly speaking about Franklin and his power or whatever. Who's to say whether Marvel changed that because they just thought it was whack or if it was misdirection? But the point is, the most accurate people out there are still the most accurate people out there. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay? Anyway, getting into this stuff here. What does this mean with no Mr. Negative? I mean, first off, I think it basically leans towards the Venom thing that we talked about yesterday, which is really fucking cool, by the way, right? I don't know exactly what it means. I got another theory for you, too. Speaking of timing, you know, hey, how many of you guys are really sharp? I just gave you this whole diatribe about timing. Consider the timing of some other scoops, and I wonder if any of you in chat can figure out who I think the actual villain of Spider-Man Brand New Day might be, just based off the timing of some other scoops. I'm just going to throw that out there. One of you will get this, I think. I hope. Anyway. So, no Mr. Negative. Wow, pretty interesting. Now, just the other day, we had a little tease from Charles Murphy that suggested that Venom could actually be the cause of Hulk going savage. Yeah. Which would be pretty crazy. There is a Venomized Hulk in the comics. It would be really, really nuts. We know that there was the Venom symbiote piece that was left over in 616 after the Venom film. We know that the last Venom movie potentially set up some multiversal shenanigans, you know, symbiotes across the multiverse, etc., etc. So it's interesting that it's not Mr. Negative. It sort of adjusts how we have to look at this film. Okay. Now, another thing that came out yesterday, this came from Daniel RPK. Apparently, this is going to be a dark movie. So they want this to be a much darker film, which is interesting because, like, dude, it looks so bright. Like, the suit looks bright. They're shooting this big scene outside, and it seems really bright and cool. But apparently it's going to be a very, very dark film. Apparently Zendaya is basically barely involved in the movie, although she plays a really important role, probably about Peter sort of finding himself. But I'm reminded slightly of some scoops that Alex Perez had, where he was talking about how Peter, after the spell, is going to begin to even forget himself. Remember how everybody forgets Peter Parker? Well, apparently, he might start to forget himself a bit, which could go to a really dark place, where he's just Spider-Man, and all he's doing is being obsessed with being Spider-Man, stopping all of these villains, but he's barely existing as a person outside of that, right? So it could be this, like, dark, depressed Spider-Man. And then the Venom symbiote could get in there, become involved, set Hulk off on some crazy shit and cause the whole situation to pop off, okay? So I find that to be pretty crazy. I find that to be pretty interesting. There's also some scoops out there where people keep talking about how Punisher's going to have an upgraded arsenal. Nobody's confirming the War Machine suit, but they're talking about how he's going to have crazy advanced weapons and a tank, okay? Which is pretty wild. So, really dark, Punisher getting new equipment, Hulk potentially flipping because of Venom, right? Which is very, very much in the realm of speculation at this point, okay? But this is all quite interesting. Okay, so look, none of you got this in chat, okay? But I'll explain now who I think the main villain of this is. I think the main villain of this is Norman Osborn, okay? And nobody's saying this. By the way, nobody's even hinting at this, but there's one reason. And that is that all the scoopers about 3 months ago started talking about a 616 version of Norman Osborn. Do you remember? They all started talking about it. They all start doing fan casting, talking about who this is going to be, who that's going to be. And in fact, I think even yesterday, Daniel RPK said in a post, who do you think should play the 616 Norman Osborn? Okay, well, pretty interesting. So if they have a Norman Osborn character, then what he's potentially doing is taking control of damage control. He could potentially be lining up a siege-like takeover of even the Avengers. Highly doubt they'll get this ready for Doomsday and Secret Wars. But depending on how Doomsday goes, depending on what happens in Spider-Man, you could see Norman getting even more power and potentially having his own group of like the Sinister Six or the Dark Avengers or whatever they want to call them. So I think that's what it is. And it's possible that Norman knows what the symbiote is and he's like trying to use it to like activate Hulk to get Spider-Man to do some shit. Like, we don't really know the full extent of what his motivations would be, right? But there's a lot of multiverse crazy bullshit going on, you never really know. Like, the leader was apparently supposed to have a lot more shenanigans connected to like the multiverse and a coming threat. They rip all that out and give it like bare bones. Like, this dude was literally supposed to give Hulk serum to like Amadeus Cho and some other stuff like that, and potentially even really try to push Bruce Banner into being Savage again. So I don't know. This is pretty interesting. I'm definitely curious what you guys think. What do you think about No Mr. Negative? What do you think about it being so dark? What do you think about the possibility of Venom Hulk? And what do you think about the possibility of Norman frickin' Osborn being the real villain of this shit? What do you think?